Hello, I'm David and I work in IT for the NHS. The work I've had done on my home to reduce its fuel bills and to make it more environmentally friendly is the installation of some solar panels, batteries and an air source heat pump. I was inspired to do this to make my home more energy efficient and in the long run to reduce my fuel bills. I started the process of getting the solar panels by registering with the Solar Together scheme that Suffolk County Council are running. For my air source heat pump, I investigated a number of local suppliers who had the right certifications and had some relevant case studies. I found the process of getting the solar panels installed very easy. It just took the contractors a few days to put the panels and the batteries in. The only time I knew they were here was when they needed to connect them up to my house. There was no disruption to my day at all. There was a little bit more disruption for the air source heat pump as the boiler had to be removed and I actually needed 2 new radiators. But other than that, the contractors were here for a couple of days and it was installed and it just works. In total, all my environmental improvements cost me just a bit over £17,000, which is quite a lot of money. But I felt it was better in the long run for me to borrow the money and pay the bank a little bit of interest than it was to pay the energy companies for their product, which would be burnt in a second. I used the government grant for the heat pump. At the time it was £5,000, but now the government are offering £7,500 towards a heat pump installation, which will reduce your cost accordingly. To anyone else who's considering improving the environmental efficiency of their home with solar panels, batteries and heat pumps, look for any council or government schemes that are available. It's important to have your home well insulated no matter what heat source you have in your house, and especially if you have an air source heat pump, as that will reduce the overall cost. Now that I've had my solar panels and heat pump fitted, I think my house is nice and cosy and everyone who visits says the house is nice and warm. One nice benefit of the heat pump is that there's a nice background heat, so you haven't got hot and cold spots within each room, and I find that's really makes a pleasant place to live. And although I can adjust the temperature of the heating using an app on my phone, I never need to touch it these days. The house is just the right temperature. The combination of my solar panels, batteries and heat pump mean that I actually don't need to worry about fuel bills. At the end of the year, my heating costs me nothing, which is, I think, incredible. I don't have any immediate plans to improve the environmental efficiency of my home, but in the long run I might get an additional battery which will allow me to get cheap night rate electricity from the grid, and that will power my heat pump during the dark days of winter.